Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel, and to all the peoples through his Son Yeshua, the Messiah, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan Torah. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, alright, so we're finishing off chapter 24. We got to 23.
We got to 24.
Yeah, my time running short. Alright, so tell me what's been going on, set the stage.
Going through the Torah.
Yes, very, very eloquently put. We're going through the Torah. At least we know you pay attention.
Every Saturday, generally in the morning, we meet up.
The last.
What happened in the last portion, 23, Mishpatim?
We've been talking about how God's given us commandments on if you're basically telling them how they need to live with each other and how they need to be treating each other. So it's a relationship with man, a lot to do with, and also servant relationships. Also if a guy's cow horns another guy's animal, you need to repay that back. And also with like marriage with servants, if you buy a woman servant and you're not happy with her, then you need to release her to not sell her to the outside people, but to good people and these different things.
Okay.
Relationships with people and.
Alright, so we basically went through a whole bunch of rulings, a whole bunch of mitzvahs, basically describing, you know, how to deal with each other, how to deal with God, you know, flowing from the Ketubah, the Ten Commandments, of what God expected to us through that wedding contract that went on. And we're just trying to filter in. What you guys need to understand here is that every single mitzvah, every single instruction that we have is going to talk to you about God's character. It's going to reveal something about God to us. Okay? So out of all of that, I mean, let's face it, it was quite a serious mouthful of different instructions in that portion. What did you learn from God's character?
He's both caring, loving.
He's caring and he's loving.
He's like a shepherd. Watches over us no matter what we do.
He also understands, I think it shows that he also understands that the culture of man is also flawed in where they're coming from, and he puts in instruction to help people with those man things that, like, for instance, slavery and things like that. Also to make sure that although those things aren't supposed to be, he's made provision for slaves, for things like that, to make sure that they are taken care of.
Taken care of not in a worldly sense, but in a godly sense.
I was going to say thorough. Like, if you actually look at the mitzvahs, they're pretty thorough and concise. It's logical, however, you know, in the sense that it being in black and white, it covers all areas. It almost leaves you with a clear picture of how to live and what not to do. It's clear.
I want to give one summary of everything. It's selflessness. It's not based on self. Everything is selfless.
Right? Okay? All of these mitzvahs are for us, and they're for our benefit. Remember, we said, it was the previous portion, if you start to nullify God's mitzvah, his instructions, you actually take away from God's character. He took a very dim view of kidnapping. Do you remember? You steal a person, you sell them to slavery, death sentence, done. Okay? There were extremely hard lines that he took because God sanctifies life. And he's also worried about the person who you're selling into slavery. He's worried about the family you took him from. Okay? And we've got through this whole process where you start to see how precious God reveres life to the point that there are massive consequences. Okay? The world is broken. You're living in a broken society. These people just came out of Egypt, a slave-burdened society where they beat you to death and they thought nothing of you except you were a number. Deal with it. Now all of a sudden they come in there and he tells the Hebrews, right, if you get stuck into this position, and remember slavery was not like previous Egyptian slavery, the term actually meant employee, servant, or, let me see where I get this. It says, literally, the term meant, watch your family in your entrance. So you take care of your own. You've been put in a position to be able to look after people. Okay? And what do you do with it? Why is God so invested in that? And now He's trying to teach a people. Remember, He took them out of Egypt, and now He's got to take Egypt out of them. Liken this to your own walk. Once you gave your heart over to God, all of a sudden the way you used to think is now being tested and turned. Now you're starting to check yourself and you go, well, actually what I thought was right wasn't actually 100% right. Now I actually need to change the way I think so that I can be better equipped to help the people see God. It's about Him. It's about us. It's about relationship. Okay? So, let's jump into chapter 24. 24 verse 1. And he said to Moshe, come up to Hashem, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, Aaron's sons, and 70 of Israel's elders. Bow from a distance, and Moses will come over alone to Hashem, and they shall not come over, and the people shall not come up with him. So some people come up to a portion, Aaron and him and his sons get invited up. Why Aaron and his sons? Right, that's going to be from the Levitical priesthood, the high priesthood. Okay, they need to understand the sanctity of it. Okay, and the leaders, why the leaders?
Because they're going to be righteous.
Okay, they're going to help the people judge, not according to their own understanding, but according to what God has written down, right? He brings them up, but Moses alone will come over. And Moses came and told the people all of Hashem's words and all the judgments, and all the people answered one voice. I'll remind you, this is the second time they're agreeing to something. And they said, we'll do all the things that Hashem has spoken. I do. Okay? And Moses wrote of all of Hashem's words, and he got up early in the morning. Let me stop there. And Moses wrote all of Hashem's words. Instructions, commandments, your Torah. This is what we have. This is what we're reading the account of. He got up early in the morning and he built an altar. Below the mountain were 12 pillars for 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, and they made burnt offerings and they made peace offerings to Hashem, bulls. And Moses took half the blood and set it in the basins and threw half the blood on the altar. And he took the scroll of the covenant and he read it in the people's ears. And they said, we'll do everything that Hashem has spoken, and we'll listen. What offerings did they make?
Some offering.
They made a thank offering and a burnt offering. What is the difference between thank offering and burnt offering?
Scan, check again. He got up early in the morning, he built an altar. He put up 12 pillars. Okay, standing stones for each of the 12 tribes. They all stand in agreement. Okay? He makes a burnt offering and a peace offering. Burnt offering does what?
Lay offering.
An olay. Okay? Literally means to go up. Everything is consumed. You do not eat or partake any of this offering. Everything gets burnt up and goes to God. So what does it mean?
Isn't it praise?
All is a form of. But what are they saying? Remember, it's not just about the animal. What is the heart behind this? I'm giving everything and it's going up to you. Dedication. It's about dedication. It's about giving your life over. So they make a dedication offering and then they make a peace offering. Let it be well between us, Hashem. Everything is okay. Alright? And he takes the blood. Why is blood important? Why do you need blood?
Blood is son of covenant.
Covenant.
Covenant contract. Okay, the term in Hebrew, literally, you cut a covenant. When you cut a covenant, that means something has to be sealed in. Remember Abraham in Genesis 16? Right? He had to slit animals up from nose, or from tip to nose, and he had to lay that in. There had to be blood involved. Alright?
Also, in the olden times, like in this time, what I heard, what my dad told me a while ago, is that if you made a trade if you buy it to someone, you take your left hand off and give it to them. But also if you're making a covenant with them, so like a blood covenant, in other words, something that could be that if you went against it, they destroy your entire family, sort of thing. They would cut their hands and then shake hands. So each would cut their right hand and shake.
Could have been a custom, but here they specifically cut it into animal flesh. It's between you and God. It's not blood brothers. I'm not saying that it wasn't the case in many instances, but whenever God makes a covenant, there's an offering. Okay, and that animal is a sign of what will happen between the two of us. Okay, so they make offerings. There's blood involved. Then he takes a scroll of the covenant and he read it in the people's ears. The Ark of the Covenant. What covenant is he making?
The Ark of the Covenant.
What covenant do they put inside of the Ark of the Covenant?
Tablets.
Tablets of what? Okay, to burn. It's a wedding contract. This is continuation of that same line. All of God's judgments of sanctity of life and all of this still fall all in line. And again, they say, we will do everything that Hashem has spoken. And we'll listen. And Moses took the blood and he threw it on the people. And he said, here is the blood of the covenant that Hashem has made you with regarding all these things. They sprinkled the blood. Does that not sound familiar to what Yeshua was doing over Pesach when he offered them a glass of wine? This is the blood of the new covenant. Okay? You take this yoke, you take this thing upon yourself and you enter into a contract between the two of us. The fact that it's a marriage contract only shows God's heart of what's really happening here. And Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu and the 70 elders of Israel went up and they saw the God of Israel. And below his feet it was like a structure of sapphire brick and like the essence of the skies for clarity. And he did not put out his hand to the chiefs of the children of Israel. And they envisioned God and they ate and they drank. God all of a sudden allowed these people to catch a glimpse in heaven. Notice that he did not put out his hand to the chiefs. What does that mean?
He didn't kill them.
It's
They didn't die.
This is one interpretation. Like you have seen God, that's it. But wasn't it God who allowed them to give them the vision? That's like bringing Isaiah to see the vision and then he goes, oh, shoot him now, quickly, he's in my presence. Doesn't make sense. And he would allow them to see it, open up their eyes and then all of a sudden say, well, I'm not going to kill you.
There's another view that I saw. I understood it that sin cannot be in his presence. That either they were forgiven completely, so they can't be killed, just same with Jacob.
It's a possibility. I want to take you to Psalm 144, verse 7. Well, I'll read from verse 5. Adonai, lower the heavens and come down, touch the mountains, make them pour out smoke, shoot out lightning and scatter them, send out your arrows and rout them, reach out your hands from high, rescue me, save me out of deep water, out of the powers of strangers. Reached out to save. Jeremiah 1 verse 9 has something very simple. The prepositions that he used here in the Hebrew tie up with something else. Jeremiah 1 verse 9. Then Adonai put out his hand and he touched my mouth. And Adonai said to me, there, I've put my words in your mouth. Today I have placed you over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and tear down, to destroy and to demolish, and to build up and to plant. I want to suggest to you, on the one hand, we have no man can see in fullness the might of God, and thus we will die. That's why he had to stop Moses when he said, let me see your face, let me see your face. He says, no, you can't handle it, you're going to die. Puts him in the cleft of the rock, covers him up, and he sees his back, and then he glows. this is not what I believe is happening here. I believe that he is sitting down and he allows them to enter into something, and he allows them to see a vision of God. And he, sitting there in this state, sort of doesn't reach down to kill them, but actually allows them to eat with him. Listen to what happened here. They envisioned God and they ate and drank. Middle Eastern custom. Why would that be important?
Because it means you're okay. They're okay with you. They've now done an allay offering and a peace offering, and now they're breaking bread together. So everything's allowed.
The Sanhedrin, the 70 elders, you have Moses, you have Aaron, you have his two sons, seeing God, and God breaks bread with them. Doesn't that talk about the heart of Yeshua again? When he's sitting down, not only with his disciples time and time again, but with tax collectors and sinners, he eats with them. Never mind the fact when Peter denies him 3 times, he goes on and he says, he goes out after the resurrection and he's sitting over there making breakfast, and Peter jumps out of the boat and he goes, "Oh Lord, it's you." And then he walks up straight to him and the first thing he says, "Oh look, yeah, we got some breakfast." It's just not a side note. It wasn't that he was hungry and needed to put food out because Peter was starving. It was about, let's break bread, everything's okay. We're sitting in a place where we're okay. And when you seal a covenant, a wedding contract, isn't there normally a wedding feast?
Cake.
Not a cake.
They sit down at the very feet of God after they sealed and they went into this contract, and they break bread. And Hashem said to Moses, "Come up to me and to the mountain and be there, and I'll give you stone tablets. We'll sign the fullness of this ketubah. And the instructions and the commandment that I've written to instruct them." Notice he doesn't just say, "Come up and I will give you 2 stone tablets." I will give you tablets and the instruction and the commandments that I've written to instruct them. He goes up for 40 days. He receives Torah, or at least part, we could argue the beginning of Torah, about creation, about where they come from, about the stories of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, about all the build up until this point. You'll find many times that it will be said to Jah that God said to Moses, and he went to go, and then he went back, and up and down, left and right, and he was receiving Torah all the time. And he would add to the covenant, the scroll. Alright? And Moses and Yehoshua, his attendant. Joshua followed Moses like a disciple should follow his rabbi. He was being trained up to be able to take over one day. He was being groomed. He got up and Moses went up to the mountain of God, and he said to the elders, "Sit for us here until we'll come back to you. And here Aaron and Hur are with you. Let whoever has any matters go over to them." And Moses went up to the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. And Hashem's glory, his Shekinah, settled on Mount Sinai. And the cloud covered 6 days. And he called to Moses on the 7th day. The 7th day? Shabbat. And from inside the cloud, the appearance of Hashem, of glory, that was like a consuming fire in the mountaintop before the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses came inside the cloud and went up into the fire, and went up into the mountain. And Moses was in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Notice there's an interesting play here. What attracted Moses first to God on Mount Sinai?
It was a burning bush.
A burning bush. Something that was on fire that was not consumed. What is he doing now?
Going up in a
fire.
Going
raging
right into
fire.
the fire, and yet he is not consumed.
And nor scared this time. Where previously he was. He was a stuttering
The man has been transformed.
bunny.
Alright?
When you finish.
No?
I'm just going back to where God had given it. What's interesting here, it doesn't say Moses wrote Torah. it says,
I will give.
which I have written to teach them. Not just the commandments. It says everything, not just the stone commandments, but it actually says, take my stone tablets, my Torah, and my commandments that I have written, and you should give it to them. And what's interesting is, like, if you look at the 10 commandments, I mean, the whole Torah is just expounding on how to carry out these 10.
Yeah.
It's not just the 10 are different from that. All of that is derived from that, and it's to show you how to keep those.
It's a summary. It is a basic summary of everything. Every instruction that we have here, we have the major heading in the 10 Commandments or the Ketubah, and then all of a sudden you have this breakdown, like you saw. It says, do not kill, or do not murder is a better translation. And then last week we went into Mishpatim and I told you exactly which context of what killing is with this punishment and that punishment, and what is okay and what is not okay, and how it blends in and all the rest of it. It all falls in line. This is God's instruction. Why 40 days and 40 nights? Testing, trials, provision. He will go and be purified even more so. And notice, Moses still is going through, remember, he's got 3 cycles in his life. Okay? So that first 40 years he was a prince, second 40 years he was a shepherd, and the third 40 years he was a prophet or a man of God.
Also, I think this 40 days is also God used to teach him what he needs to do. It's preparing him.
Absolutely.
Spiritual
Yes.
number.
Teaching Israel for 40 days. Oh, well, yeah.
Spiritual number 40
years. No, he's going to have 40
Well,
What is
40 years.
what is 40?
Testing.
Okay? But what talk about it? We say testing, but give me images. What actually happened with the foot?
There.
The roaming in the wilderness is one aspect we went to. So he said that I put you through your paces so that I would test your heart and I would see exactly whether or not you would follow me. So it is testing their heart, testing their intentions. How long?
40 days and nights.
Eh?
Rain for 40 days and 40 nights.
Rain for 40 days and 40 nights talks about faith and provision. Okay?
Sure was tempted.
Sorry?
Also, his faith with the Amalekites. Normally, with his hand onto the gate.
Okay, it was during the Omad, which is 50 days.
Yeshua was tested in the wilderness.
Yeshua was tested in the wilderness for 40 days.
I think of Job, but no, I don't know if that was.
Specifically 40 days or 40 years as well?
40, well, it was 40 years because of the 40 days. Remember, the spies went up and they gave a bad report, so it says 1 year for every day you came back. So every day that you spent over there, you came back and you gave me a bad report, I'm going to make it a year on the side. That's why they spent 40 years. Okay? When Yeshua was resurrected, now correct me if I'm wrong, just an idea, how long was he teaching his disciples?
40 days.
4 years.
40 days.
Yes.
No, he was after his resurrection.
Oh, okay.
After his resurrection. He taught them for 40 days. And he aligned them with his heart, and he taught them about what was to come. And through the testing, they came out better, they came out stronger, they came out his. God is refining Moshe to be able to show these people the heart of God. And these guys have agreed and agreed and agreed, and they said yes. And it wasn't just Moses on a mountain somewhere, it was a nation. It wasn't just a nation. God pulled out elders, he pulled out Aaron, he pulled out his sons, he pulled out Joshua. They saw God. How many more eyewitnesses do you need? This thing is completely from the point. Now there's a very interesting thing that happens here. There's this extremely clever rabbi says he picked up the same sort of idea from 2 major instances that was going on in this portion, where it says he saw from a distance and then he went up and then he did this and then he did that. And I'm gonna read this to you. So it's going to be what was happening here in Torah and what was previously happening in Torah, and we can see if we can figure it out. He said, from a distance, sit here and we'll come back to you. Both you will go up to the mountain. And he said, and he took, and he set up, and he got up early, and he built an altar, And he put out his hand. And he got up. And they came and they saw. Does anything jump out in your mind that they could allude to?
Yeah, it reminds me of Yeshua with Peter, I don't know, the Mount of Transfiguration. Not, okay.
There was no altar involved.
Not, but they said they would build an altar.
They would go up. No, he said, well, let us build a tabernacle.
Oh,
So,
yes.
who else? Any idea?
Yes.
Let me read it again. He said, sit here and we'll come back to you. Both you and I will go up the mountain. And he said, and he took
Abraham.
Abraham and Isaac. A trusting relationship of love. He told his servants, stay here, we will go up, we will come back to you, we will make an offering, we will set up this covenant contract that is going up. They built an altar. God put out his hand. Remember, Abraham put out his hand. Stop, 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 stop.
Angel.
And it was this entire, this linking where there's this interesting play here. Abraham obeyed God. And he was loved by him, and he entered into a covenant with Abraham. Right? It says, through you and your descendants, I'll make you like stars in the sky, sand in the seashore. Okay? He went into covenant contract. And he took him into the promised land. Or he said, he took him into the promised land. He said, I will give this to your seed. And this is sort of an allusion to God following through with that promise. This is Abraham's seed, sitting in a mountain, plus a few other people that decided to leave Egypt at the same time. And he says, all right, get ready. You need to understand the heart. You need to understand the instructions of God so that when you go into the promised land, you can reflect me like Abraham reflected me. You can be able to teach them about your God. Remember, Abraham used wells. Okay? Gave him something to drink and he goes, oh, how are you so awesome? Well, you know my God. My God gives me all of this. And it's all about reaching out where Israel will take up an entire piece of land just so that they can reflect God in His fullness. Okay. Alright, go into chapter 25. Okay? This portion, as you might have read, is very difficult because it talks a lot about cubits and it talks a lot about sizes and it talks about the tabernacle. But before we get into that, I'm going to show you some pictures. I'm going to fire that bad word. Alright? I'm going to go a little bit into chapter 25 because we have to lay some foundation and then we're going to go into some pretty pictures. Alright? Now, there are a few different words for the thing tabernacle. Okay? Now this sukkah that is described here is extremely important. How do I know that? What is the purpose of the tabernacle?
It's to carry the very presence of God.
But God was up on Mount Sinai. Why do we need to build a tent?
To remember, His presence needed to stay with us. He's a relationship God. He says, after all, that He created the ketubah, the covenant, with man in order to reside with Him.
Right. Okay? So God just wants to take this marriage contract and He goes, I want to be with you wherever you go. So you will build me a tent so that I can be with you. Right? Now, in English we have a couple of different things. It's called a tabernacle, it's called a tent of meeting. Alright? There's actually 4 different names in Hebrew. Okay? One is called a mishkan. Okay? The other one is called a mikdash.
Although, what's a root word again?
You want to show it?
Yeah.
We're going to get there. What's a mishkan?
Big.
Yeah.
But,
No, it's actually something else.
okay.
Well, it comes from the same root. Ohel and Ohel Meod. No? Moed. Alright.
Interesting.
So we've got different names for different reasons. Alright? A Mishkan is a residence or dwelling. So it's a place of the indwelling of God, a place with you. A mikdash is a sanctuary. It's a place set apart. Ohel is a temporary dwelling, like a sukkah. Something that is set up that is only temporal. And Ohel Moed is a tent of meeting, as in Moedim. You ever heard of the term Moedim? It's God's times and seasons. When he refers to the feasts and festivals, those are God's Moedim. Alright? So it is a tent set up for his feasts and festivals, for his meetings. Alright? Each one of these things can show you something about the heart of God. A place of indwelling, a place of residence, a sanctuary set apart between you and God, a place that is temporal. This is not where God dwelt, this is a picture of what was in heaven. Okay? It says time and time again in this portion, you guys have checked, right? You will make it according to what I've given you, what you have seen. And they go up according to the cubit, according to design. And a tent where you will celebrate his festivities. Okay? The word Mishkan. Mishkan has the same root word as Shekhinah.
That's interesting.
Shekhinah means presence, the very presence of God. So in the Mishkan, it has the same identity with God's indwelling. Alright? Now, we need to understand, more is spoken about a tabernacle in Torah than any other topic in the first 5 books. Okay? This is extremely important to God. There's something silly like, and please go check, I can't remember the exact amount of chapters, something like 60 chapters referring to how to build the tabernacle and like 3 chapters on how to build the temple or on what was in the temple. Alright? It is ridiculous. And when they actually go out into the Hebrew, there was an interesting lady. What we're showing you here is actually a tabernacle replica that they have in Eilat. Okay, it's in Timna Valley, a little bit up from Eilat. And you go over there, and these people have made up a replica to give you an idea of what it would look like. Right? So you get to see the size, you get to see the implements, you get to see them. And I've taken a couple of pictures just to give you some gauge. It's very, very interesting every time we go there. So, I mean, this isn't the fullness of what we're going to discuss with the tabernacle. But what I need you to understand is that every single thing here, every color represents something. Whether it's gold, silver, or brazen, it represents something. Whether it's made of wood and overlaid, and whether it's not overlaid at all, it represents something. So we're going to break down these pieces. And I'm hopefully going to give you a little bit of a better understanding here. I don't know how far we're going to get, but we're going to give it a go. Alright, so this sukkah, when we went over here to this place, there was a lady there that said, a rabbi came up to her and said, you know what, in the Hebrew, when you talk about the creation of a tabernacle, it actually is structured in the same way as God's creation story. So when he made the world, and when he created the tabernacle, it actually flows the same in Hebrew. So, to spend this amount of time, where most of us, let's be honest, fall asleep when you start talking about, and it was 5 cubits by 22 cubits by 18 cubits high, and it was blue and red and white, and you were just thinking, that's lovely, how does this apply to my life at all?
And you can't imagine it in your head just
You can't imagine it, it's very, very difficult. While we're there, how big is a cubit? Okay, from the tip of your elbows to your fingertips, okay? It was changed, I think twice. One was 11 inches and then went to 18 inches. Double check me on that. It was a it was a good standard in biblical times. Okay, so when it talks about a cubit, it's from there to there. Alright? And they would sit there and they would do the measurements. Can you measure being that guy? 18 of these, please, across the front. And he's standing there, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And they would simply have to mark this whole thing off to get the specific sizes. Alright? So, I want to go into a little bit of chapter 25, and then we're going to discuss, and then we're going to leave Torah, and then forget about the cubits and stuff, and we're going to look at the pictures, and we're going to try and break down some interesting facts. Chapter 25, verse 1. And Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they shall make or take a donation for me. You shall take my donation from every man whose heart will move him. This is something extremely beautiful. Understand this. You're a slave your entire life. You long for nice things. God comes down, He shakes heaven and earth, and then He says, go and ask them for the nice things. Everything's going to be alright. And He takes the nice things, and now they have jewels and gems and royal blue robes and all the rest of it. And they walk out and they're free, and now all of a sudden they're at Sana, and they've got this wealth. And then He goes to them, He goes, whoever gives freely, who's put on their heart, take from that to make my house. This is something extremely precious. Guys that have never had,
Still give.
would still give their best to God because of where they are. We hold on. No, it's my precious, you can't have it. No, well, I've got 2 of those, you can have one, I'll keep the other one. They take the best. You're talking about gold, you're talking about gems, you're talking about cloak and stuff that is extremely, extremely expensive, that you would be treated as a king. Now all of a sudden, you give up freely.
Wouldn't they have done that with salt as well?
Yes and no.
And spices and stuff.
Spices, yes, not so much salt. In Dead Sea, you can pick it up on the side. Okay, and this is the donation that you shall take from them. Gold, silver, bronze, blue, purple, scarlet, and linen, goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, leather skins, and acacia wood. Oil for lighting, spices for anointing oil, and for the incense fragrances. Onyx stones and stones to be set in the ephod and for the breastplate. And they shall make a holy place, a place set apart. And I shall tent among them. I will dwell among them. The Hebrew goes as far as I will dwell in and among you. It means both. So not only does He give them a physical picture, but there's a spiritual layer, because when the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, comes down, He literally tabernacles inside. God, Yeshua came down and they said, you will call Him Emmanuel. He dwells with us. This is not something new. Oh, you mean like the Mishkan? No, this is going to be something different. But the allusions to what these things actually represent make me very excited. Okay? According to everything that I show you, you are to design of the tabernacle and the design of all its equipment, and you shall do so. And they shall make an ark. Okay, let's go into this a little bit. He says, gold, silver, brass, blue, purple, scarlet, there was white, goat's hair, ram skin, leather, and acacia, oil, spices. What does gold represent?
Righteousness.
Righteousness. Okay? Righteousness. Biblically, gold is righteousness. Silver,
Purity.
redemption.
Also,
When do you atone with anything but blood? You're redeemed with someone. Okay? Brazen, brass, judgment. Blue, royalty, and also purple, but also represents something from heaven. Purple, royalty. Scarlet, red.
Sin.
Blood.
Sin. Would God say, put your sin all over my house?
No, I'm just
Life.
saying it's one interpretation.
Okay? It means blood. Or something that comes from the flesh. Okay? As in human. Right? You have white linen that is in there. Okay? White represents
Holy.
purity.
Purity.
Okay? Something pure. Goat's hair. Wow. Why would we want goat's hair?
For stubbornness.
The goat represents Yeshua, so the hair is probably
Yeah.
Covering. Because of change.
it's probably the covering.
There's a beautiful practical reason. Goat's hair is an open weave. Which means is when we put it together, when it's hot, it opens up and air goes out, and when it gets wet, it shrinks in and it makes it waterproof.
Sure.
That's interesting.
Practical. Okay? Ram skin dyed red. A covering of blood or something that is of the flesh.
Which reminds me of Esau.
Yeah, the Yeti. Right. Right? Acacia tree.
Very expensive.
Is it?
I can't remember.
No. Acacia was something that was found in the wilderness, right? It is a desert plant. It's very hardy, very slow growing, and very prickly. One lady that we went to go see there said, you know what? What struck her was she's an acacia tree.
She's hardy.
Very hardy, very stubborn, and very prickly. It's a very hard wood. And it's not massive. So what you've got to do is you've got to chop up big sections, and you actually got to take it and you've got to shape it. And you've got to mold it so that you can actually use it properly. Alright? So it is something that is very hard. Alright? The spices and the precious stones. When you look at the spices, we'll go into the different, there's a lot of very interesting teachings about the spices, on how certain spices were collected to making the incense offering and things like that. I'm going to leave that until we go into it. Okay? And then precious stones for the ephod, the breastplate. Where would the breastplate be?
On the chest.
On the chest of who?
Of the
high priest. Okay? And each stone represents what? Right, there were 12 stones representing 12 tribes, as in God carries you, the high priest carries the nation on his heart before God. This is not just about, oh look at my fancy gemstones, check my bling out. This is about God, you are coming before God with the symbol of his bride. Alright? Now, we're gonna look at some stuff, but I wanted just to get the layout quickly. When you start looking at this tent of meeting, this Mishkan, okay, we'll notice if we do an aerial view, it's actually made up. An aerial view, it's actually made up in 3 sections. Okay, we have an outer court. We have this section here, which is a holy place, and then we have the Holy of Holies. Okay? We have one door. A gate that runs through here. So that runs, and there's a section there, and it runs over there. Okay? Can everybody see that more or less? Right? Why do I go through all of this? According to 1 Corinthians 6 verse 19, it says, don't you know that you, or we, are 10, plural, you are the new temple of God. So if this is the image he wants to give you according to his design in heaven, well, that's very nice. What does it mean? We have a very interesting correlation in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 23. It says, don't you know you're made up of 3 parts? Spirit, soul, body. Body is the outside. It deals with everything external. Soul, the holy place, is your emotion, your mind, your will. And the Holy of Holies is the spirit where you communicate with God himself. You, that's the picture. That's how you're made up. Think about it. When the world tells you to do something, it normally affects your body first. Once it affects your body, it comes to you and you have to think about it and make a decision, and then we take it before God. Right? When you receive an instruction from God, you have to take it and think about it, make a decision, and eventually tell your body to get up and do it. Okay? So what's happening here is we're going to see certain pictures of not only Yeshua, who is Emmanuel, but we're also going to see how God deals with how we come into His presence. Yeah, ready to go deep. You all look at me like, bam, we haven't even started yet.
Food.
Yeah?
It's interesting because
Food.
it's difficult to understand God as three, you know, triune.
The triune.
Yeah.
Or you say you prefer to say.
I prefer trying.
Triune. Okay, triune. Because, but look how everything is designed, made up of three.
Three different sections.
So it's just interesting.
Because we can look at what is God in spirit, what is God more soul, and what is God more body. Where was He more flesh, where was He more spirit, and where was He in between? Yeshua, Ruach HaKodesh, and Elohim Himself. Each three break into different sections here, and we can go back and forth on this. Okay, if you really want to get into it, there's a book by Watchman Nee called My Spiritual Man. Alright? I will give you the same advice the pastor uncle who told me. He said that you read it the first time to read it, you read it the second time to understand it. Alright? It's extremely, extremely deep, and he delves well into it with all the biblical references, why he believes this is this and which part this part's in, and he actually breaks it down for you to where you're coming and where you're going. Okay? I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is we're going to look at certain things here. Alright? Skip to the next one. I want to get to next one. 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 Labor. Next one. There. Alright. We'll start from the outside working in. Alright. I never had time to organize this. Alright. So you have one gate comes into God's presence. Alright. You come into the gate, and the first thing you find smack bang over here is the altar. Okay? Now, you all are being so diligent, like you have told me exactly. How did they make that altar? What was it covered in? Did they make it out of wood first? Did they layer it?
It was made out of wood, acacia wood.
It was made out of acacia wood first?
And then
Okay, tell me what that means. If we are the acacia, the hard prickly stuff, God takes us and He overlays us with what?
Bronze, sorry.
Bronze. Okay? We have to deal with the judgment, with the sin first. We put horns on the altar, on the side. What do horns represent?
the wrath of God.
God's judgment turned away. So by me making the offering, it is turned away from me. Deal with your sin before you come into the presence of God. Okay? So we have to deal with judgment. Alright? Back one. Back one. On the side, yeah? Can you rotate it?
Just rotate it.
Yeah, rotate it, please.
Yeah, it doesn't want to.
Doesn't
I'm
want it.
actually going to go out to rotate it.
Alright. On the side, yeah, what you have here is you have a labor. Okay? What does the labor represent? There we go, beautiful. What do I do with the labor? You wash. Okay? You clean yourself. So once you clean, once you deal with your judgment, you can wash the blood off your hands before you go into the place. So you are cleansed. And mikvah, if I can put it that way. A time of cleansing. Alright? Labor also, brazen. Helps you deal with your judgment. Right, next one.
You mean one before?
Try it out, let's see. I'll tell you if it's not.
I don't
You
know
can
what
rotate
it
that.
should be.
You can rotate that. Why not? Let's discuss it.
Which way should we rotate it? That way.
Okay, now this is the side, yeah. Okay, now this is the side of the tent as it comes in. And you heard about these colors. They're going to be repeated the whole way through. Alright, you've got scarlet, you've got blue, you've got purple, you've got white. But there's a picture here. They've got cherubim on the side, angels according to the thing. Now you tell me, what has that going to tell me about anything?
You sure?
How?
You've actually touched on this, if I remember.
Yes, I have, so I'm making you...
The blood of man, red,
Flesh?
with something from heaven or holy, blue, makes the royalty, which is purple, the spiritual royalty, where white is...
If I may, the white starts here, right? So the white comes first.
So it's the holiness,
Something pure,
something pure, something sacrificed.
something of flesh, something pure, something of flesh, something from heaven. When you mix the flesh and heaven, you get something oil. Who am I talking about?
Yeshua.
Emmanuel. Okay? These pictures are there to point towards God. Next one.
That one.
No? But you can rotate the body now. Next.
This one.
Next one.
That's one.
Next one.